out, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Transport Fever 2 series. We are on our Axbridge train that brings in some bricks into the city of Axbridge. This was set up in the previous episode and it's doing a pretty decent job for us, as we'll see as soon as we hop off of this train after our little introduction. So we are now, I think, at a point where we're a lot more stable, a lot more solid, and we're in a good position to start some further expansion. The lines that we have created, after some tweaks of course, obviously I'm referring back to the fuel production line a few episodes ago. Yes, after some tweaks they are now making us decent profits in the background, and they're not needing too much direct intervention from ourselves in order to eke out that extra bit or to make sure they maintain profitability. They seem to be happily chugging away in the background, making us a fair bit of money that we can use for some extra lines and some extra trains. So for today's episode, the first thing I'd like to do is perhaps double this train here, the one that we have between Epping Brickworks and Axminster. That'll obviously double the supply throughput of bricks into Axminster, which is going to stimulate some town growth there in Axminster, which is always, I should say, a very welcome thing. After that, well, we'll just decide what we want to take care of next. We'll have a quick look at what's around and about, and whichever looks the most promising and the most logical, that's where we'll step to next. So let's hop off this train then. As you can see, making 5 million, and we have about 30 million in the bank. We're in 1917, the date is running now, so that's all good. Let's just continue following this train. So yes, we will want to double this train, I dare say. I mean, it is making us a nice bit of money, as we can see. It's not groundbreaking, but it's certainly paying for itself, and that's the main thing here. The one consideration we do have to think about is, do we have enough stone coming into here to justify 2 trains? As we can see, our train is pretty close to returning to the brickworks. We're just coming through the tunnel, and we only have 41 bricks available at this station to be shipped into Axminster. Now that may be the demand levels. Nope, the demand does exist. 106 bricks per year is what they're calling out for. What we do need is actually some more trucks on this line. As we can see, we are overloading this, so let's go ahead and do that first of all, and we're going to bump it up to, I'm going to say 6 delivery vehicles are going to run this line for us. What I'm also going to do is just manipulate this line, because it's not quite doing what I want it to do. So we want the Axminster bricks delivery, and ideally what we want them to do is to come down this way and into the exchange. So if after Manor Road we guide them into this waypoint, that's better. Then they're not looping around on the station, they're doing a nice circuit, which makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more pleasing to look at. So yes, one little minor cosmetic tweak there. Back up here then. So the bricks production, we could do with more. And I think the choke point at the moment is we're relying on these rather slow trucks to get us some bricks, well, to get the stone into here. So the logical replacement for these would be a rail line that shoots out of the back of this station, skirts along the top of the map, and then comes into the quarry over here by Epping amongst these mountains. That should be fairly straightforward and easy to do, actually, and I think that is what we're going to do. Let's get some stones brought in via the rail network. So let's get ourselves a cargo station, 320 meters. Now we don't need any more than 1 platform on this one. We're only going to have 1 line leaving this station, and that is the one heading to the brickworks. Nothing else needs the stone, it's only the brickworks, so we don't need to worry about having multiple trains heading to multiple industries. And we'll put our station nestled in just to the north of the quarry, like so. And we'll give it a nice road connection, just so we have that active connection between the industry and the train station, which we do. And this will be Epping Quarry. Wonderful. So now we just need to get this track to basically follow the road here along the top side of the map before sweeping down into the brickworks. That should be rather straightforward. Don't see too many complications arising from this. So let's go ahead and do that. what we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to have a nice flat level exit from the station like this. That allows us to expand this way should we need to, although we do have plenty of room to expand this way to the east. So either way we're good. We are quite close to that road there now, so what we are going to have to do is just temporarily just reroute this. This is only temporary because in the near future these are going to be mothballed, of course, and replaced by the train line that we are constructing at the moment. But just so we have room for the train line, we will just very quickly reroute the road like that. Now we can allow the train line to do whatever it needs to do in terms of its terrain height. Obviously we don't want to have any unnecessary rises where we can avoid them, but that looks pretty good. It is climbing up a little bit, but nothing too dramatic. And that's not too bad. What would it look like if we kept it straight, however? Well, yep, that's fine. I don't see, yeah, we can do that. We are cutting into this hillside a fair amount, but that's not too bad. Okay, so here we are going to have to drop off, and we're going to have to drop off quite a lot. We're quite elevated there. We could do it with a nice long viaduct, as the game is trying to give us right here. And that would be a very long viaduct, but it would mean the gradient is quite manageable. What would that look like with a steel bridge? I don't mind that, if I'm honest. I think it'd make a nice bit of scenery for Epping eventually, once it starts to expand up this way. So yeah, I'm gonna go for that. I was toying with maybe trying earthworks, but yeah, we'll go for that nice bridge actually. Anyway, let's carry on with the rail line. We're about to sweep into the station now, so we'll start turning over just to the south just a little. Maybe coming a little bit more, but we have to be careful with that road there. In fact, if we just pull it back... Oh, that's not too bad. It is climbing up a couple of meters, but nothing too extravagant, I dare say. And having it hugging this road here is quite pleasant. Yes, 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 yes. Although we don't want to hug too much because we do need to veer off and connect into the station, of course. So we'll come back to about there. And at this point we'll break free and we'll look at connecting in. And what will that do? Well, that's going to give us a tunnel, but a tunnel straight after the station, I don't mind that necessarily. I think that's quite nice. We've got decent speed, which is the main thing. Drop down to 69, but as we always say, because we're on approach to a station, that's not too much of a problem. So let's just quickly double track all of this then, straight back to the quarry. This should be relatively straightforward. We can just snap parallel to our existing tracks the whole way. Let's see, yeah, looking good so far. There is one modification I need to do actually, that's just reminded me. I noticed on the outro, I'm not sure if I left it in or not because it was quite annoying, but on the previous episode's outro, as we approached one of the tunnels weren't quite parallel and we had tunnel mouths overlapping one another and it just looked bad. So I need to sort that out, so we'll do that in a few moments. I'll show you what I mean, and in fact let's go and do it right now. I think it's this one just here. Yeah, you see we have overlapping tunnel entrances here and that is just horrific. So I'm going to sort that out quite simply by just rebuilding the tunnel from scratch and making sure we keep ourselves a nice parallel track with a nice double-mouthed tunnel. There we go, that's better, that's what we were wanting. So that's taken care of. I don't think we removed a signal, we might have done. Just to be safe, I will chuck a couple in down here on approach and exit from this tunnel. There we go. Okay, so we can now do the signal work for this new line up here. In terms of our platform assignment, well, you're using platform 2, so what we want is this one to come into platform 1. Now, we don't really, or I want to avoid having crossovers that overlap into the mouth of a tunnel, and I don't think this is long enough to give us a crossover before the tunnel. Let's just check. Well, we can just about get that in there. It's slow, but that's fine. Yeah, that's better. It's just prior to the entrance to the tunnel, so it fits in perfectly. Although it could be a little faster really if we're nitpicking, but it's not too bad. Right, so now let's put some signals down here. I'm going to avoid signals in the tunnels as per usual. So this whole bit here is going to be one big block controlled by the station, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. It does mean, however, we can double these signals up here rather than having a short signal set further back, because we've already got a nice run up here through the entire length of the tunnel. Okay, let's just chuck some more blocks in. We can space these out quite nicely. I'm trying to keep these few and far between because in the not too distant future we will be upgrading to the electronic signals rather than the semaphores, and I don't want to spend all day going through and replacing our existing signals with the upgraded modern version. So keeping them few and far between makes that a little bit easier later on. Once we do get those upgraded signals, then we can, you know, chuck down as many as we want really, because we don't have to upgrade them again in the future. But for the time being, we'll keep them relatively few and far between like that. But that's more than enough blocks for what we need. We're only going to have, say, 2 trains to start with anyway. So, yeah, we don't need much more than that. Right, so let's set up a line for this then. So you're coming from here. Your colour, we'll make it a little bit darker just so we can see it nice and clearly. And you're coming into here. Yep, you're on the right platform, so your switch was set up correctly. This is all good because it's only one platform anyway. And then we want to just do the quick loading orders here, where we're waiting for a full load and only loading stone. Not that there's anything else they could load here, but just for completion's sake we will do it anyway. And there we go. And this will be the Epping Rock Island line. There's a little nod there to Johnny Cash. Yes, the Epping Rock Island line is carrying stones, rocks, you know. It's close enough. Anyway, that's fine. Let's go and get ourselves a locomotive. Or 2, I think we'll be able to afford 2. We should... it might be tight, but we shall see. Let's see, what do we want to use? Well, it's going to be the A35, isn't it? Yeah, what the heck. We'll go for the A35. It is a nice looking locomotive. I do like the look of it. So cargo wagons, we're now going to gondolas. I think this is the first time we've used gondolas on our network, so that's nice to see them making an appearance. We have used flat cars and tank cars, so it's just after this it will be just the box cars left to use at some point. And we'll do the 12 carriages, which I believe is just enough to keep us in the good rating. It's going to cost 12.2 million, so yes, we can afford 2 of those immediately, and that is wonderful. Let's give them a nice paint job as well so they match their line. Head over here so we can actually see the line in our field of view and set them on their way. Okay, so that's burnt through pretty much all of our cash reserves, but this line should be making us a nice profit. What we can also do now is start removing these road vehicles. Now we could do it slowly and make sure, we could just delete them after they've made a delivery so we don't waste the stone that they're transporting. But in the long run, it's not that much of an issue. You'll make any losses that you incur by selling the stone, you'll make them back with just 1 or 2 deliveries, so there's no point wasting the time. So manage vehicles, sell them all 31 of them are gone. Brilliant. And now we can actually start doing some of this, and this will help on saving maintenance. Yeah, it's crying at me, but that's simply because, of course, we've just removed a station from our active line, even though it doesn't have any trucks on it. So the Epping Stone one can now be deleted, and that will get rid of that. Everybody is happy once again. So there we go. That's the stone setup. It's going to take a while for our locomotives to get up here, of course, so we can just leave that to do its thing in the background. How is this doing? Are the extra trucks? We could probably do some more, I think. Let's chuck an extra 2 on there. We don't want to go, you know, balls to the wall and overdo it, so just an extra 2, and we'll come back and check on that. In the meantime, let's have a look at our other lines that have been chugging away in the background for us. So over here we have the Herne Bay crude oil shunt. 3 trains running this. We could probably do 4. The platform is absolutely chock-a-block. That's making us excellent profit. So for all as we can see, really good line, very profitable. And yeah, having a fourth train on here just to eke out as much money from that as we can is not a bad idea, but we can't afford that right now. Over to here, and the Long Eaton fuel line, again, it's absolutely chock-a-block. So having extra trains on here and maybe even upgrading from the PLM to the A35 is something we'll want to do in the near future. In terms of finances, it's a lot more marginal than the crude oil shunt, but that's fine as long as it is making a profit. We do have the occasional lapse here and there where we don't turn a profit on this line, but that's nothing to be overly concerned about. Improving the locomotives and maybe increasing the amount of trains should resolve that. How is our little wood boy doing down here, or both of them? We do have two now. Again, completely swamping the platform here, so extra trains could be in order. Although, as I said, I'd rather just double head these and have a super long consist because we don't have a lot of track here, and having 3 or 4 trains on such a short stretch of track would be ridiculous. Anyway, in terms of its finances, yep, looking nice and healthy, decent profits all around there. What about here, the Long Eaton lumber freight? How are you doing? Again, a bit more marginal, but that's fine. Extra trains on there should help with that. We only have, oh no, we do have 2. No, we have 1, just the one. Just this one here, train number 9. I do need to rename these trains, and I'll probably start using some of you wonderful people, if you don't mind, for train names. Just leave a comment if you're happy to have a train dedicated to you, and I'll take care of that as and when I get those requests. But yes, you're doing pretty well. Again, like I said, it's a bit more marginal than this line, but it's making profit. How about then our road vehicle lines? Let's have a look. Let's just expand this up like that so we can see everything at once. And let's do it by line name so we can see all our buses together and then all of our trucks together. So buses, well, as I've always said, not really too concerned by them. The industrial line is making us decent profits. Long Eaton commercial line, just about profitable. And this line, it's sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Mainly it doesn't. There's all our trains. We've checked all of those. We know they are doing pretty well for us. Obviously, this is a bit of a misnomer at the minute because it hasn't made any deliveries yet. So once it does, we should see that go into the nice blue numbers. Down here with our trucks then, the coal run continues to make us nice profits. The bricks delivery is making a loss at the moment, but hopefully that will stabilise pretty soon. The Long Eaton fuel delivery is nice and profitable, and the tools delivery is even more profitable still. So yes, I'm very happy with how things are going, bearing in mind, of course, we have the max costs for maintenance on all of our vehicles set on the options, so to see them all still making a decent profit is very, very nice indeed. I don't know if our trucks have their maintenance set to very high. They may not, because if we look at Long Eaton, we have very poor emission rating, so chances are we're paying the default amount for the maintenance. So if we were to increase that, then some of these razor thin profit margins on our buses, for example, would suddenly drop through the floor. That's something we'll have to determine a little bit later on. I think for now, I'm not too concerned about the emissions. Long Eaton, it's grown to a decent size. We've got now 4 cargo demands here, as we can see. The bricks and the food have now joined the party, and we're getting a decent supply of both fuel and tools into Long Eaton. So a little bit of noise pollution I'm not overly concerned about. As we can see, we have grown by over 150%. So, and that includes the negative 60 there from the emissions. So not overly concerned by that. So let's just quickly find our stone train and see if they've made it. Well, in fact, what we need to do, I've just realised we have no signals down here, so this train couldn't depart until this train had passed through the station, which it must have now done. Yep, there it is. So that was a bit of a wasted time there for this loco, but it matters not. I mean, it's on its way now, so there's no point chucking the signals down now, but we will remember to do that if we have multiple trains heading this way at once. We'll have to add a few signals in here. I mean, eventually this may even form a double track and we'll have active lines running down here. For now, it is just access. So at the moment, then, this train here is going to be sitting here making a nice big loss. Well, it's not at the moment, but over time it will. That's because, of course, we've ran out of stone at the brickworks. Now, we're not going to get any more stone until our trains arrive, and they are on the way. As we can see, one is just on the approach into Axminster now, so it shouldn't take this train too long to get over to Epping Quarry, at which point we can then, this will kick back into life. But for now, we're going to see this start making a loss, I dare say, which is, it is what it is. It is just an artifact of the way we've done it. I mean, we could have kept the trucks running until such time when the train was on approach, but what the heck, we've done it now. There's no point rebuying the trucks just for the sake of that. We'll just leave them to it. So for our next venture then, I still want to double this train. We'll see how the supply of stone goes with the 2 trains that are on their way first of all, before we overload it. I think the first thing we want to do before we even look at that though is sort out these trains that are doing the fuel run, this little fuel triangle here. If we could get them the A35 locomotives and 12 wagons on their consists, and then we'll see if we do need a 4th train or not. I think the increased speed from the A35, because I think these are limited to 34 or 36 miles per hour, so that's always going to stymie our growth on these lines. But yeah, if we could upgrade these trains and modernise them, that would be fantastic, and then we can take stock and determine if we do need to add extra trains on. Similarly, these log hauling trains down here, I'd like to double head them and ideally double the length of the consist here as well, so we'd bump that to 24 carriages per locomotive, well, per train, because there's 2 locomotives of course, or there will be, and then we'll see how that does. That, well, it will help its profitability, not that it's struggling on that front, but it should help the this issue that we have here, where we are running out of logs before our train arrives. Ideally we want this to be ticking onto as low as possible, as low as we dare. Ideally, just as this train starts unloading, that wants to hit 0, and then the throughput is perfectly balanced. However, in practice, getting that takes a lot of faffing about. Every time you upgrade your locomotive over time, you have to redo it all, so as long as we've got something in stock, then I'm happy. I mean, like I said, if you were going for the full 100% efficiency, you'd want this number as low as possible just as your train starts to arrive. What we don't want is it sat at 0, because that's wasted production time, and that's obviously impacting this train because it might have to wait a little while longer for a full load, and then obviously that's going to start affecting the tool production, which in turn affects the tool delivery. Not that the tool delivery line is suffering, as we saw, it's making us a good bit of money. Okay, so that's enough rambling. What I'm going to do now is quickly pause the date progression, jump to 4 times acceleration, let these stone trains get up and running, let them get bedded in, and we'll take stock as to how they are performing, and we'll see if we... Oh, okay. Ah, okay, you can't pass because you're in the way. Well, you just head off to Epping and drop... Sorry, to Axminster and drop off your bricks. Not that you have many to deliver, but do that, because otherwise this train can't come on through. The stone train, the second stone train, will get through before he returns as well. But yeah, now that they're going through, we'll leave it for 5 minutes, let these 2 trains get bedded in, get themselves spaced out, and we'll check the throughputs and see what we need to do next. So I'll see you in just a few moments' time. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I've let the lines run for a little while in the background, nothing too long, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes or so at 4 times acceleration. Now at the moment, I think we have overdone it with the stone production, or the stone delivery. As we can see, it's taken quite a while for the trains to take a full load. We're just over halfway with train number 11, and its counterpart has just arrived and is pulling up to wait for clearance onto the station. So that's a little bit inefficient. Well, it's quite a lot inefficient. The holdup seems to be that there's not enough production over here. We're only looking to produce or ship 68 out of 100. Of course, that all ties back into the town of Axbridge, where they only need the 68. So while it's inefficient at the moment, it's not something I'm overly concerned with, because once we start growing the town of Axbridge, that number's going to increase. That's going to kick up production here and probably end up leveling up at the brickworks, and that's going to have the knock-on effect of increasing the output down here as well. So it's all good, but if we look at the line itself, yeah, we're probably going to be making a small loss on this line for the time being. But again, that's not something I'm too concerned with, because it's something we can rectify relatively easily. In fact, just chucking some buses into Axbridge will probably be enough to bump up this, because we'll encourage the town growth, and that's going to increase the supply demand that we have on the bricks in Axbridge. And to do that, in fact, let's do that right now, shall we? It's not going to take us long to put in a couple of bus lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to do similar to what we did down in Long Eaton, where we have a bus line that runs from the residential district over to the industrial sector, and one that runs from the residential district into the commercial sector, like that. And then we'll set up these lines. So what we want, we'll have blue heading into the commercial sector, which I believe is this sector up here. And you're using that side of the road, that's fine. It makes no difference which one you use, as long as this one, the second line, uses the opposite side. That's all that really matters there. And this will be B for bus, and this will be the Axbridge commercial line, like that. And then we'll set up another new one that goes from this bus stop here to that bus stop there. And yep, you've automatically chosen the other bus stop. The problem we have here is our trucks should get slowed down while the buses are unloading or loading at New Road. So we'll have to perhaps reroute the trucks to come down here and down here, but that shouldn't take too long to do. So we'll quickly rename this one, and this will be the Axbridge Industrial Line, like so. And to start with, like we did in Long Eaton, we're just going to have 2 buses, 1 per line. So we'll go for the Gaggenhaus, so we'll buy 2 of those. We'll keep the emission or the maintenance set to default for now. We can always improve it later on. And we'll set 1 there, and then the blue one there. And the last thing we want to do, as I mentioned, is probably just realign these trucks to head down that way rather than heading down here, just so the buses don't cause them to hold up, so they're not, wasting time getting back to here to pick up some extra bricks. So let's sort that out. So we want the bricks delivery line, and after Manor Road, but before waypoint number 2, we want you to come, well, we don't want to do that. Where are you? Yeah, after Manor Road, come via that waypoint, and then they're not going to interfere the buses, or the buses aren't going to interfere with the progress of our delivery line. So that's all good. I'm happy enough with that. What I would like to do as well, if we can afford it, and I think we should be able to, is the routes or the roads where our vehicles are running on. I want them to be a little bit faster in terms of the top speed. So let's see, do our buses run up here? Yes, so with this road here and this one here needs to be upgraded to a medium-sized road. So it's going to cost us quite a lot to do that, but it's going to give us that extra bit of speed on our vehicles. And what the heck, we may as well do those as well while we're here. So that's going to help efficiency, because our buses are getting around town just that little bit faster. And it's, hopefully they've not rerouted. Yes, they have. This road here has caused them to reroute, but that's okay, because guess what? We'll just upgrade those roads as well. And they were cheap because we didn't have to move or demolish any buildings for that, so that's no problem. So yes, keeping these roads as fast as possible. I mean, we could go for the next level up if we really wanted to, but we'll do that a little bit later on once we get into the modern era. But yeah, it just prevents any unnecessary slowdown for our buses and our delivery lines, and that's all good. Hopefully then we'll start seeing an increase over here now that we have some destinations for our public transport. 69, and it's still climbing. So that's going to have a knock-on effect down here, which is going to affect this. What we could also do is in the near future look at getting some sort of train line, perhaps between Epping and Axbridge. Obviously in the end we will have Epping, Axbridge, Herne Bay and Long Eaton all connected on the one line, but we got to start somewhere. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's where we'll call an end to proceedings for today. As per, while we're still in the relatively early phases of the game, I will allow the bank account just to build up a little between this episode and the next. I might aim for around about 40 to 50 million, and that seems a lot, and it is a lot for us. However, the reason is I want to upgrade these trains here on this little triangle run, which is going to be quite expensive, but I also want to make sure we have enough left over to do a little bit extra, you know, to do something else, further expansion, without having to wait around mid-episode. So yeah, I'll aim for about 40 to 50 million. That'll give us enough to upgrade this line here and set up a new line somewhere. And I think what we're going to do is, I might even go big, and utilising the line and the station that we have here, is modify this so this comes all the way down into Long Eaton, because Long Eaton does require bricks now, and if we have two sources or two towns drawing the demand from this industry, that's going to bump this up, which is going to have a nice positive effect down here as well, as we discussed a few moments ago. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop on board this train. We'll have a little cab ride for a little outro as per usual as we head over the viaduct or the bridge that we set up a little earlier in the episode. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and you're enjoying this series overall. If you have enjoyed the episode, then please consider hitting that like button down below. It really does help and it does mean a lot to yours truly. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please consider subscribing to the channel as well for future content as and when they get released. The next episode after this one, the next video that's likely to be published after this one will be Chapter 3 of the Railway Empire scenario. I think that's, or it might be Chapter 4 by now. I record quite a few videos on both games simultaneously, and I'm just trying to picture in my mind's eye what's coming next and where we are, because from my perspective this video won't be up for about a week and a half, so I'm just trying to plan it out in my head. Either way, it will be a Railway Empire video after this one. It's either going to be Chapter 3, which is crossing the Mississippi, or Chapter 4 of Railway Empire campaign, which I believe is the Civil War scenario. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.